Welcome to the Strategic Pulse. We begin with breaking news on the escalating crisis.
The former high-ranking official has publicly called for a comprehensive resolution from the regional authority.
This aggressive rhetoric mirrors the ultimatum given to Japan during World War II.
However, leading military analysts suggest a disconnect between words and reality.
Former intelligence officials are now questioning if this strategy is truly viable.
Conflicting reports indicate the U.S. leadership actually reached out for a ceasefire.
Critics argue that political posturing often hides the actual situation on the ground. The current administration appears to be operating under a dangerous delusion of control.
It resembles historical leaders moving non-existent battalions on a strategic map.
Generals remain reportedly silent, unable to admit that critical forces are depleted.
The alternative strategy seems to be a threat of total annihilation of the region.
But without a clear objective, the operation has become a campaign of endless bombing.
International observers note that this lack of strategy indicates a trapped military. Let us now examine the actual damage assessment of the ongoing military campaign. The Defense Department refuses to release satellite data, citing operational security. But analysts believe the real reason is to hide the extent of the damage from the public.
Global powers like Russia and China already have access to this real-time surveillance.
The silence is likely intended to keep the American public in the dark about heavy losses.
Key radar systems worth billions of dollars have reportedly been neutralized recently.
These systems were the eyes of the defense network, which is now completely blinded.
Military experts highlight the genius of using low-cost drones against high-value tech.
A billion-dollar radar system was reportedly destroyed by a drone costing mere hundreds.
We turn our attention to the THAAD batteries, the most sophisticated air defense units. Each battery is worth millions and relies on the radar network that has been compromised. Reports from Jordan suggest that critical missile launch sites have already been damaged.
3 major batteries are reportedly out of commission, leaving the bases vulnerable.
Air bases across the region are effectively decommissioned due to these precision strikes.
U.S. forces have reportedly retreated to Cyprus, launching attacks from a safer distance.
Attacks are reportedly ongoing against military bases in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar.
Diplomatic missions are closing down, as seen with the recent sudden evacuation in Kuwait.
It appears the United States is quietly packing up its presence in these key strategic zones.
The industrial capacity to manufacture new interceptors simply does not exist at this scale.
European allies like the UK and France are now being called upon to fill the defensive gap.
They are being asked to protect the Gulf, but resources are already stretched far too thin.
Requests for air defense missiles are being denied as the priority shifts to other fronts.
Confirmed reports state that defenses are being stripped from South Korea and Japan now.
These critical assets are being moved to the Middle East to cover the significant losses.
This leaves the Asian theater vulnerable, a move that deeply worries our regional partners.
We are discussing defensive missiles used to intercept incoming complex aerial threats.
But the offensive stock, including precision Tomahawk missiles, is also running dangerously low.
Reports indicate U.S. forces are now resorting to older gravity bombs due to supply shortages.
This tactic forces pilots to fly directly into hostile airspace, risking aircraft and crew.
It represents a regression to World War II tactics, dropping unguided munitions blindly.
Advanced S-35 jets are being deployed to drop basic bombs, signaling a desperate measure.
The administration is now asking Congress for $50 billion to sustain this war. Despite official claims of success, no concrete evidence of destroyed launchers exists.
Footage released so far only appears to show attacks on decoys and non-strategic targets.
Analysts suggest that regional allies are now effectively dictating the tempo of the war.
Heavy bombardment has been reported across the capital, targeting government buildings.
Residential areas and police stations are being hit, raising severe humanitarian concerns. The objective appears to have shifted from defense to an active attempt at regime change.
Observers believe the plan is to fragment the nation, similar to the strategy in Syria.
Strikes in the Northwest aim to create a power vacuum for opposition forces to enter.
There are reports of attempts to mobilize local militia groups to launch ground attacks.
However, local forces demand U.S. ground support before committing to any major offensive. This strategy risks alienating key NATO allies who view these groups as a direct threat.
Speculation is mounting that a full-scale U.S. ground invasion is currently being planned.
Military sources indicate active duty units are receiving deployment orders right now.
Critics argue this was never the original plan, but a reaction to failing air campaigns.
Former officers warn that the U.S. Army lacks the capacity for a sustained occupation here.
Experts predict that ground troops entering now would face immediate, heavy resistance.
Unlike previous conflicts, there is no safe staging ground for a massive mobilization.
In Iraq, forces built up over months. Here, they are entering an active kill zone.
Bases and ports are already under fire, making a safe landing nearly impossible here. Official reports claim single-digit casualties, a figure many analysts find doubtful.
Images of destroyed barracks and hangars suggest the toll is significantly higher.
Helicopter fleets have been damaged, and retreating forces face local resistance.
Strategists view a ground invasion at this stage as a tactical suicide mission.
We now turn to the deteriorating situation within the cities of our regional ally.
Reports of civil unrest and riots are emerging from the streets of Tel Aviv tonight.
Citizens are confined to bomb shelters for days, facing shortages of food and water.
The promise of security is collapsing as the reality of a long war sets in deeply.
A quiet exodus is underway, with thousands reportedly fleeing via sea to escape.
Strict censorship laws now impose prison sentences for filming any missile damage.
International observers claim that parts of the capital
now resemble a war zone.
Air defenses appear overwhelmed as ballistic missiles impact key urban centers.
Independent reports suggest that American casualties are being actively suppressed.
With intelligence hubs hit, the true number of losses may be hidden permanently.
The marketing of the Iron Dome is failing against this overwhelming volume of fire.
If intercepts were successful, social media would be flooded with proof, not silence.
The ruling coalition faces immense internal pressure as public patience wears thin.
Critics argue the current path is unsustainable and risks total economic collapse.
We shift now to the global economic impact. Oil prices have surged past $90.
This marks a significant spike, reminiscent of the early days of the Ukraine crisis.
The transcription is as follows. Suggests Tehran's strategy is to inflict.
Asian markets are scrambling to secure gas supplies as domestic production ramps up.
Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz is becoming increasingly perilous for tankers.
Europe faces a severe energy crisis, having cut off Russian supply for American imports.
Russia is now pivoting to energy exports entirely to eager Asian markets instead.
The Kremlin has stated it will prioritize reliable partners over European buyers.
Experts warn Europe is becoming an economic dependence of the United States.
Meanwhile, the military strategy remains focused on widespread infrastructure destruction.
Iran's missile launchers remain secure deep underground, untouched by recent airstrikes.
Instead, reports confirm heavy bombardment of civilian infrastructure in Beirut.
Significant casualties are reported, with a tragic impact on the local community.
Impacts on public infrastructure and essential facilities are being cited in recent strategic reports.
Human rights groups are condemning this as the dirtiest form of modern warfare.
Disturbing reports emerge of U.S. troops being told, "This is a divine mission."
Hundreds of soldiers have formally complained about this religious framing of the war.
This radical rhetoric escalates the conflict beyond politics into dangerous ideology.
Reporting for the Strategic Pulse. Subscribe for objective updates. Good night.